Commander Zeftai of the Galactic Defense Fleet watched the tactical display with growing despair. Red indicators cascaded across the holographic battlefield, like falling stars, each one representing another fallen ship, another extinct species. The Devourers had broken through the outer perimeter of the Andromeda sector, their biomechanical monstrosities consuming everything in their path. "Sir," his communication officer's voice trembled through the universal translator. "The Crystalline. Empire's fleet has been completely overrun. The survivors are requesting immediate evacuation." Zeftai's 4 eyes closed in anguish. In his 3 centuries of military service, he had never witnessed such overwhelming devastation. The Devourers weren't just conquering, they were literally consuming entire civilizations, converting organic and technological matter into more of their twisted vessels. "Any word from the Council about reinforcements?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. The Ethereal Collective has withdrawn to their home dimension. The Machine Dynasty has sealed their borders. A new signal interrupted the grim report. Zeftai's primary eye focused on an unfamiliar signature approaching from the galaxy's outer rim. The energy readings were primitive, almost laughably so. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from an unknown species. They claim to be humans? From a planet called Earth?" Zeftai had never heard of them. According to the database, their world was classified as a pre-warp civilization, barely worthy of observation. What could such a backward species possibly want in the middle of the galaxy's greatest crisis? "Put them through," he sighed. The hologram flickered, revealing a bipedal creature with pale skin and strange, wet eyes. Despite the universal translator, there was something raw and unfiltered about the human's voice when he spoke. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We've been monitoring your communications. We're here to help." Zeftai's translator must have malfunctioned. "I'm sorry, did you say help? Your species doesn't even possess faster-than-light travel according to our records." The human's mouth curved upward, their species' expression of amusement, he recalled. "We don't. We've been traveling for 6 months in generation ships to reach this sector. We figured the galaxy's distress signals were worth investigating." 6 months? Zeftai's mind reeled. "You traveled for 6 months in sublight vessels to reach a war zone? Why?" Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "Because that's what you do when people need help. You don't abandon them." Before Zeftai could respond, proximity alarms shrieked across the bridge. 3 massive Devourer bioships had broken through their defensive line, heading straight for the refugee convoy behind them. "All ships, emergency evasive maneuvers," Zeftai commanded. But he knew it was hopeless. His remaining forces were too damaged, too few. That's when the humans struck. Zeftai watched in stunned silence as dozens of crude metal vessels, barely more than armored tubes with engines, accelerated directly toward the Devourer ships. Their weapons were primitive projectile cannons and chemical explosives. By all logic, they should have been vaporized instantly. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The Devourer ships, which had shrugged off the most advanced energy weapons in the galaxy, began taking damage. The humans weren't trying to match their technology. They were exploiting weaknesses that no one else had even considered. They flew in chaotic, unpredictable patterns that seemed to confuse the Devourer's targeting systems. They rammed damaged vessels directly into enemy weak points with no regard for their own survival. "How are they doing this?" Zeftai whispered. His tactical officer was frantically analyzing the battle data. "Sir, their approach is completely irrational. They're using what appears to be kinetic warfare, and their pilots are making tactical decisions faster than our computers can process." On screen, Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the chaos. "All human vessels, remember. We're not the strongest or the smartest, but we're the most stubborn species in this galaxy. Make them regret waking us up." Zeftai watched as a single, human ship, its hull breached and venting atmosphere, deliberately crashed into a Devourer's power core. The explosion took out 2 enemy vessels. The human pilot had sacrificed himself without hesitation. "They're insane," breathed his communications officer. "No," Zeftai said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. "There's something else entirely." The battle raged for hours. The humans fought with a ferocity that defied comprehension, turning their technological disadvantages into strengths. Where advanced civilizations had tried to match the Devourer's power, humans embraced chaos. Where others had calculated odds and retreated, humans simply refused to quit. When reinforcements finally arrived, summoned by reports of this impossible human resistance, they found the Devourer fleet in full retreat. The humans had done what the galaxy's greatest military powers could not. They had made the unstoppable force stop. Admiral Chen's battered flagship limped alongside Zeftai's command vessel. Her image appeared on his screen again, this time showing burn marks across her face and exhaustion in her strange wet eyes. "The civilian convoys are secure," she reported. "We lost about 60% of our fleet, but the refugees are safe." Zeftai found his voice after a long moment. "Admiral Chen, your species has just accomplished something that military strategists across the galaxy deemed impossible." "How?" The human was quiet for a moment, then smiled that peculiar expression again. "We have a saying on Earth. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good beings to do nothing. We saw people in trouble, and we couldn't do nothing." Later, as news of the human intervention spread across the galaxy, xenobiologists and military analysts would study the battle for decades. They would catalog humanity's unique psychological traits, their irrational loyalty to strangers, their refusal to accept impossible odds, their tendency to view overwhelming force as a challenge rather than a deterrent. But Zeftai, watching Earth's battered fleet tend to refugee ships with the same determination they had shown in battle, understood something simpler and more profound. The galaxy had spent eons cataloging species by their technological advancement, their psychic abilities, their longevity. They had never thought to measure a species by the size of its heart. As the human ships began their long journey home, carrying grateful refugees and the respect of an entire galaxy, Zeftai made a note in his personal log. First contact with species designation human. Recommendation: immediate elevation to Galactic Council membership. Reason: the cosmos needs more beings who travel 6 months through space simply because someone, somewhere, needs help. The age of humanity in the galactic community had begun not with superior technology or ancient wisdom, but with the simple, revolutionary concept that sometimes you fight not because you can win, but because it's the right thing to do.